Introduce you to our great funding by design spice, girls and boys. At the end we have Antony McGregor-Dey. Now Antony is our entrepreneur innovator spice. Alright? Next to him we have Jefferson Harcourt of Grey Innovation. He is our commercialisation spice. I could actually see that as a new Lynx deodorant. We have Adrian Spencer from Grant-Ready, and he's our business advisor spice. Nadja Mott. Now, Nadja Mott, you're a difficult spice girl to pigeonhole because of your diverse background, but I'm going to call you entrepreneur design spice. Is that all right? Sounds good. That's all right. Okay, and Judith, Bennett at the end, it sounds terrible to say this, we have government spice. Oh, no. Which I think is one better than Old Spice. Okay, by way of introduction, Antony. Now, I'm going to ask you to go on a rounded journey here. You are the CEO and founder of QM Codes. Does everyone know what a QR code is? Some people are nodding, some people are not. It's those little barcodes that you sometimes see in magazines or on brochures, where if you take a photo with your mobile phone, it brings rich content up onto your mobile phone. So instead of reading a magazine, Anthill Magazine, and reading something about an awesome video, you can now take a photo of that barcode and it will bring up that awesome video onto your mobile phone. So in a meandering way, Antony, you're moving to New York next week. Or in the next fortnight?
Next 2 weeks.
Okay, how, why, when? What led you to New York? You're on.
Yeah. So we've been operating for about 3 years. We started, with an idea actually in about October 2006 and put some of my own funding in it for a bit of research. Quit my job and eventually found some angel funding and took it from there. And we've been through, I think, what a lot of businesses go through over that 3 years, trying to find who our audience is. I mean, we are a technology company at the end of the day, so we're building a technology and effectively creating our own market at the same time, which actually makes it a lot more difficult. So I had an idea, and I didn't actually know who I was going to be selling it to, but I knew it was a good idea. So we went through a course of effectively licensing someone else's technology first and trying to sell it into some of the large enterprise clients here in Australia. Unfortunately, learned some really valuable business lessons there around hard contracts and letters of intent and the difference between those things. And from there, after we went through that experience, we decided, well, we know there's still an audience for this technology that we want to sell, so we'll develop it ourselves. And from there, my investors had put in a bit of cash, but they weren't necessarily willing to part with any more straight away. So at that point, we started to go down the government funding path. And at that time, I was running an event called Mobile Monday Melbourne, which I still run, and we happened to make some connections from Victoria. And from there, we managed to secure a fairly decent amount of what you call prototype development funding from them, where we still just had an idea with no actual software, but through their funding, they basically helped us build a prototype which we could start to take to market and try and get some trials. So during that prototype phase, Film Victoria? During that prototype phase, we started to run some trials with certain target markets we thought might appreciate our technology, so magazine publishers and advertisers. And we did all this within Australia. We got to the point where we were actually asked by AMIA to go on a trade mission to New York. And I just thought, well, I haven't really explored foreign markets yet. I have to go. And at that stage, AMIA did have some criteria that said, you had to be market ready. So we weren't quite market ready, but we sort of polished ourselves up enough to try and make ourselves look like we were market ready, and jumped on the plane over to the States and did effectively a roadshow to some of the media companies and marketing companies in New York. And again, that was a government-funded mission there through Multimedia Victoria. And during that road trip, I decided that if I'm going to the States, I'm going to go with some serious intention to walk away from the US with a client. So I actually ended up staying in the US at that point for 2 months straight without actually leaving, and traveling from LA to New York to Austin to San Francisco, meeting with whoever would meet with me, and sleeping on people's couches and all that sort of stuff. And finally we managed to land HarperCollins as a client. And from there it's just been a bit of a snowball effect. We signed our first contract with HarperCollins as a trial in June this last year. And off the back of that trial we got some press, and the amount of interest we've had from the US market has just grown. So we're still very much in development phase. We're still, a technology company, and we're still refining our technology. But during that time, we've received other funding from the R&D tax grant because we're a technology company, further funding from Auckland Media Victoria to attend other trade shows and events overseas, and just recently now, we're at the point where we have a prototype, it's been proven, people are actually paying to use that prototype, and so now we're applying for some funding through Commercialisation Australia to actually effectively commercialise our technology and take it to market. And that's where we are now. So I'm flying over to the States on March 9th, and I intend to stay over there and stitch up other big names like Warner Music and Scholastic and Penguin and some of the others. Yeah.
I'll ask you a little bit, in a little while, I'll ask you about some of the assistance that you got in terms of your travel. Jefferson Harcourt. I don't think I could, well, I can call you commercialisation spies. I would like to call you the, was it the $6 million man, was Steve Austin? Yeah. Jefferson recently has been involved in a consortium that raised $7 million in grant funding for the bionic eye. How times have changed. What was it, in 1976 you could fund a whole man for $6 million, now it's $7 million to get an eye. How did that come about? Tell us a little bit about the process for raising money for the bionic eye.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with universities and early stage technology sources, and there's a lot of really interesting things coming out of the unis, and they historically have really not done anywhere near as well as they'd like in terms of getting that technology to market. So they're actually quite open these days to work with other people, other companies like ours who have actually taken products into market and know about their journey. So we were actually asked to go out and help write that bit and put it together, work with the researchers and map out how this whole process is going to be.
On behalf of Monash University,
yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of people here who would come from the industrial, a couple of people who come from the industrial design background. You're actually not looking for, you weren't looking for a grant for yourself, you're looking for your client.
Well, yeah, who then pays us?
Yeah.
So kind of,
wheels within wheels. Well, eyeballs within eyeballs.
So you said before, it was 8 million, and then another 2 Monash students, so there's 10, but you can't even do a bionic eye for 10. So a big part of this is actually raising the 100 million or so that you would need to do it. So not obviously all in one hit, but if you draw the analogy to Cochlear, first time they really got product in the market, $10 million won't pay for a tin of biscuits. So it's a big job, and it happened over many years. But very exciting.
And how did it come to your attention as leading you into your background as a founder of Grey Innovation?
Well, yeah, as I say, we've got those relationships with Monash and other unis. So I'm out there a fair bit looking at what they're up to and how we can productise that. And
my leading question isn't working. What is Grey Innovation and what does it do?
Okay. There you go. So we started off as a design company, electronics, software, and we moved into broader tech commercialisation, which really means that we're doing the same thing as we always used to do, which is design products, but we started doing it for ourselves, or taking a stake in opportunities and sitting on the board with our clients and actually taking charge over the process. So much more strategic involvement in the whole development. And there's a huge and very frustrating gap in how product development and design needs to happen when seen from the investment side of the world. They sort of don't get it. So if you can sit on the board as a designer, it makes a huge difference. And that's really how we got to this point.